Hello, it's Anna Hill here with Farming Today podcast. Today, the Prime Minister faces tough questions about the pressure that inheritance tax is putting on farmers. We'll have more on that a little later. First, though, all week on Farming Today, we're talking about historic rural buildings, everything from old farm barns to country mansions. All of these buildings will need repairing at some point. So today, Marie-Claire Carey-Jones is at the Tywi Centre in Llandilo in Carmarthenshire, which is the only centre in the UK teaching NVQ Level 3 qualifications in heritage construction skills. Centre manager Nell Hellier showed her around.
This is one of our training rooms.
And on the desk here at the front, there's some paper laid out with different piles of what look like sand and stone. What are those?
This is a little experiment out on the table showing the makeup of different aggregates you would need if you were making a lime mortar.
So now tell me about the Tywi Centre. What is it that you're doing here?
We are really the only centre that delivers the NVQ Level 3 in heritage plastering, in heritage carpentry and in heritage stonemasonry that looks after our everyday traditional buildings.
Is this a very niche area though?
I would say it isn't. Although the contractors who come through our training courses, some of them go on to work on very high-end, high-graded listed buildings, the majority tend to use their skills on everyday repair and maintenance. And in Wales, we've got 500,000 of these traditional buildings. It's a third of our housing stock. I don't think a third of all our buildings is a niche area at all. Although, that said, it's only just touched upon, the knowledge about how to care and repair these buildings is only just touched upon in mainstream college education.
So you think there needs to be more centres like this?
Absolutely.
Slate this from a powder to a putty.
Across the centre, a group of students is learning about traditional plaster.
In front of us we have a bucket of lime putty. So we would mix our lime putty with various different types of aggregates to do various different things. So in this instance we're mixing an aggregate and we're going to be adding some animal hair for a plaster. Whiz away.
My name is Marcus Francis. I've been in construction for 20 odd years, but mainly on new builds, and I really got an interest and a passion in heritage and older buildings. I saw the Tywi Centre were offering the courses and jumped at it really, so thoroughly enjoyed the course, concentrating on lime pointing, lime plastering, from a humble farm cottage to listed buildings. It's all here in Wales, and we need more people doing it.
Good morning, I am Tom Jones from Jones & Fraser. We're a traditional building company based in Mid Wales.
So Tom, what are you doing here at the Tywi Centre today?
Myself and the chaps are rebuilding a gatepost for Newton House. So we're here at the Tywi Centre, which is on the home farm for Newton House.
And what does it mean for your business, having somewhere where people are learning these traditional skills that may otherwise have been lost?
Yeah, the Tywi Centre and I have a really great relationship. We've been working together for over 10 years now. What's brilliant about this is that they can do this on-site training. I think it's just really reassuring to see that there is a thirst, and I think that that's growing.
Hi, my name's William Dawkins. I've been training at the Tywi Centre for my stonemasonry course. I didn't know anyone else my age going into stonemasonry, and I thought, well, if there's no one else doing it, then it's a bit of a gap for me to fill.
And you're already working in it now alongside Tom. What's that been like to start working in the field straight away?
It's been brilliant. The amount of stone buildings we have all across Wales and the UK, and not many stonemasons, and I think the more young people coming through, the better. Otherwise the skills are going to be lost and the buildings will be lost too.
Will Dawkins there, ending that report by Marie-Claire Carey-Jones. Now, you may remember that when Labour came to power, it promised to block the blockers of new developments and, I'll quote its manifesto, build 1.5 million new homes over the course of the next Parliament. But it also pledged to protect England's green belt zones, which exist to defend the countryside from urban sprawl. Well, now the countryside charity, the CPRE, is concerned that the new National Planning Policy Framework, which is due to be published soon, could introduce a default yes to any developments in the countryside. That, it says, would bring about the urban sprawl which the government claimed it would prevent. Roger Mortlock is CEO of the CPRE.
Just since 2019, we know that we've lost around 4,000 hectares a year. So it's a city the size of Lincoln or a borough the size of Lewisham to development. While that's happening, the register of brownfield sites, so those sites that have been previously developed and are available, has gone up by 16%. So there's room for about 1.4 million homes. That's most of the government's target on brownfield sites. The other thing that happened for us, I guess this time last year, was the introduction of the grey belt rules. So this was trying to find places in the green belt that were appropriate for development. And at the time, the government talked about disused car parks, they talked about petrol stations. In reality, what's coming forward as grey belt is not car parks and petrol stations or previously developed land. It's mostly greenfield sites, so 88%, so nearly all of it is on greenfield sites. Many of those are very high quality farmland or even key wildlife sites. We've come forward for development with planning inspectors overturning local decisions and saying, no, this is grey belt. So the lack of definition of grey belt is a real challenge, and we'd love to see more definition. Is certainly to ban any development in the green belt on high quality farmland. We know the government have got this really ambitious target to develop 1.5 million homes. We think that target's a political target. What matters to people is that they have high quality, affordable homes near to infrastructure. Many of the developments that are happening around the edge of our towns and cities in our countryside, they end up needing really unnecessary car journeys. And this is all happening while the space in our towns and cities for new homes is being untapped.
Is that really a valid criticism, though? Most people do depend on their cars. They can't rely on public transport, even if they're near infrastructure.
Some of the town centre sites don't rely on people getting in their cars. If you want compact, sustainable cities, if we want to face into the climate crisis, starting with our towns and cities is a good place to start.
What about the way developments are to be decided on, the role of local authorities and planning departments? How is that changing, and what concerns do you have about that?
There's a huge amount of change going on in local authorities at the moment, with a huge programme of local government reform, which is layered on top of this ambitious target for housing. But our biggest problem is an increasing centralisation of some of the processes, an increasing overruling of local authority decisions, especially in rural local authorities where people are dealing with these increased housing targets that are not linked at all to local need or demand. We want to see those homes built much more where there is evidence of housing need and demand.
We need new homes. Everybody recognises that. Something has to give, doesn't it? It is okay to say we need to protect the green belt, but that could be from a position of privilege, not in my backyard again.
If there wasn't an alternative, that would be a really valid argument. We do need new homes, and the housing crisis really is a crisis of affordability. It's about people getting onto the housing ladder. It's about identifying new social housing. It's not about 4-bedroom homes in the green belt that are being sold at unaffordable rates that no local people can buy.
Roger Mortlock of the CPRE. In a statement, the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government told us, "We are clear that our plans to build 1.5 million homes will not come at the expense of the environment, and we will maintain strong protections for the green belt. We will publish an updated national planning policy framework shortly." The Prime Minister has told MPs he's aware of the pressure farmers are facing because of the government's plan to reimpose inheritance tax on them, but despite close questioning, he made no commitment to change. Sir Kier Starmer was in front of the Liaison Committee, which is made up of all the chairs of the House of Commons Select Committees who head up investigations into government departments. At the hearing yesterday, Cat Smith, Labour MP for Lancaster and Wyre and chair of the Procedure Committee, asked Sir Kier about inheritance tax.
Last year, rural communities, including many farmers, put their trust in Labour for the very first time in a very long time and gave us a mandate for change in this country. However, and I hear this from many of the 950 farm holdings in my constituency, feel like they were misled around the changes to IHT and APR, which are going to pull the rug from underneath farming communities and obliterate the family farm for many farmers. We're in a situation now where elderly farmers or farmers with terminal diagnosis are in a position whereby if they die before April, their farm will pass to the next generation with no tax implications. But if they die after, the potential of their family farm being completely unviable. Can you see how farmers can feel like this government hasn't necessarily treated them in the way that they expect to be treated as working people?
Well, look, I do understand the concern, and I met with the president of the NFU just last week, as I've met with him before, to run through the particular concerns they have. I do think on agricultural property relief, there had to be sensible reform, and I think this is sensible reform. We did make an amendment in the budget, obviously, in relation to the spousal transfer, and more generally, we are sustaining £11.8 billion in sustainable farming this Parliament, so there's a lot of money set aside in the budget. There's a roadmap that we're agreeing with farmers as to the way forward, and of course Minette Batters, the ex-president of the NFU, has just completed a report for us on profitability and how we drive up profitability year on year, which I think is vitally important, because in a sense that's the missing factor here, which is the amount of money that farmers can make year on year, and we need to drive that amount up.
Kat Smith went on to highlight how desperate some farmers were feeling.
Whilst the ambitions of government were, I think, quite right in terms of tackling tax avoidance that could go on in, like, say, large country estates, the collateral damage is that it's actually the small family farm which is feeling the hit of this. And the changes in the budget won't go any way to benefit one of my constituents who is 89 next month. He's already widowed, so he will not be able to benefit from the spousal transfer that has been announced. And given that you've been a Prime Minister who is, and I think quite admirably, changed courses in the past when issues have been exposed to the absolute reality of things, would you consider changing course on this issue?
Well, firstly, let me just reassure. The vast majority, 3/4, I think, of farmers simply not affected at all. And of those that are affected, the rate that's paid is half the rate that's over a 10-year period. In relation to the particular example, if you're happy to give me further details, I'll certainly have my team
look at that.
Well, the chair of the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Committee, Alistair Carmichael, also pressed the Prime Minister on inheritance tax, and specifically the forestalling clause in the Finance Bill, which would mean anyone transferring their farm to a descendant will be liable to pay inheritance tax under the new system if they die within 7 years of the transfer. Sir Kier said he had already had talks about this with the National Farmers Union.
As you would expect, the president of the NFU has raised this issue with me on more than one occasion.
Not just the president of the NFU.
Well, I appreciate that.
You've heard it from Kat Smith, you've heard it from my Select Committee, you've heard it from the Welsh Affairs Select Committee, you've heard it from the Northern Ireland Affairs Committee. These are all select committees, incidentally, that have majorities from the Labour Party, and they have all produced unanimous reports calling for this to be paused and rethought. You don't have to listen to me. You don't even have to listen to the farmers out there. You don't have to listen to the president of the NFU. But why do you not listen to your own party colleagues?
I do listen to party colleagues all the time.
Prime Minister Sir Kier Starmer. And that's all from us today. I'm Anna Hill. The producer was Rebecca Rooney. Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.